Hey ho, I'm Rachel, this is Missy, we're Miss Daisy Sewing, and today we're going to talk about dolls. So, spooky season is amongst us, and I've been commissioned, oh I don't like the doll either, I know sweetie. I've been commissioned to make a doll outfit for the horror night that I volunteer at, and I got really lucky with a charity shop find and got this sort of bedsheet with this kind of overblown lace. The plan is to make a dress with the lace fabric, kind of mimicking what we've got here, but blown up. And yeah, I'll explain the rest as we go, because I don't want to be around this thing much longer either. So, see you soon. For this project, we're using the Simplicity S9653 pattern. And if you haven't seen a commercial pattern before, inside we have the instructions, and these have a step-by-step, including diagrams on how to construct the dress. And then the sort of brown paper here is what actually has the pattern pieces. What I like to do is trace out the right size pattern pieces onto the tracing paper. And the reason I do that is that it means I can repurpose the original pattern for a different size at a later date. And all of the pattern pieces that I've cut, I just store in a paper binder. There are two types of people in this world, those who trace and those who cut, and I belong to the former. Following that, I cut out the pattern pieces, trying to keep in mind the direction of the lace print. I couldn't fit all of it on the darker side, so I did all of the ruffles on the lighter side. So as we got all of the pieces flatlined, I just did that off camera for ease. And this is quite a fun one because what we're actually going to end up doing is putting the side front and the side back together, and then we're attaching that to the actual sort of the main back and the main front pieces, and then because the ruffles got to fit in here into this extra seam. So I'll show you that as we go. So this is what I mean about how we're going to have the two halves. That's the back and the two front pieces, and this is the front side and the back side, and a ruffle is going to go in that seam there. So my next step is to make the ruffle. First step was to baste that ruffle, and then I pinned it at the centre point and gently gathered it to make it match the length of the seam. Once I took it to the sewing machine, I could really see it coming together. This is the bodice with the ruffles, which have turned out really fun. I need to stitch that down, and I also need to stitch these side seams so it doesn't flap so much. I am losing track of what ruffles are going where, so if I was to make this again, I think I would actually pin these to their pattern pieces to keep track easier. But anyway, my next step is going to be the sleeves, and I think this is the shoulder flange. I'll look at the instructions again and figure that out. I did not consult the instructions. After sewing the seam of the sleeve, I then prepped the ruffle, and this involved me basting it and then gently easing the gathers onto the cuff of the actual sleeve, and that was then machined down again. So I'm here with the side seam, sleeve, it's going to go like yay on here, and then we have this little ruffle as well, which is really weirdly shaped. There we are. That goes on there with the sleeve underneath it. Oops, you get the idea. So let's get this prepped and then we'll get the sleeve in. I spent not an insignificant amount of time on this next step, firstly prepping that ruffle and then gathering all those basting stitches to ease into those armholes, pinning both those layers together, thinking I was being clever, trying to sew both those parts at the same time. And that's the sleeves on. So we've got the little frilly cuff thing, we've got frills on the actual cuffs, and then we've got the big frill in the front and down the back. So pleased with it so far. I've not got these perfectly even, but I can live with that. This is just a costume piece, and yeah, now we're on to the
the skirt next, which will go onto the bottom here, which will involve a lot more gathering, and then we put a placket and a collar on it, and technically it'll be done at that point, but life is never that simple. I don't trust it to be that quick.
Yeah, I slept on it. It wasn't going to be quick.
So I was looking at the pattern for this, and I'm like, she doesn't have little weird flanges on the dress, on the shoulders, like these. And I actually did check the pattern this time, and these are actually meant to go underneath the sleeve to sort of help, you know, make it puffier like that. And I know I said it didn't bother me that these weren't quite even, but I lied, and it does bother me. So I'm going to take the sleeves off, swap them the right way round, so this bit will be underneath the sleeve, and put them back on. And then after that, it'll be getting started on the skirt. So, onwards. That's significantly better. The whole thing looks more even now as well. Like the ruffles are sort of like making me feel it looks uneven. But now that the sleeves are fixed, I'm much happier with that. And they are kind of cute and puffy. So, anyhow, onto the skirt.
I'm starting to feel like the word gathering is losing meaning in this video, because that was my next step, was gathering that enormous skirt after I stitched together the front and side seams. I did go for a French seam on this skirt because I hadn't overlocked these pieces, and I wanted something sturdy.
That's the skirt on. It's got that nicely gathered. I need to put the placket in next, which will go on this front opening. But that's it really sort of coming together now. Turn it to the back. So, pleased with this. I think it will get worn with a petticoat just to add a bit more flair to the skirt, because it's a bit limp. But I'm pleased with it so far. It's actually assembling really quickly, despite the awful head cold. So, yeah, let's get on with the placket next, and then I think I'm going to have to dig out some buttons. Hey guys, it's going well. I just need to do the hand sewing on the inside of the collar. Just in here, I always find I get a neater finish when I do that by hand. I need to dig out buttons and get the buttonholes put on, and I also need to do the ties. Now, lesson learned, don't do a new pattern whilst you have a head cold, because I've made a bunch of mistakes on this as I've gone along, shoulder caps being the main one. But this is supposed to have ties on the back. So they're supposed to actually go in the side seam, but I'm going to just hand stitch them in behind the ruffle here, and then that way we can tie a nice big bow in the back, and I think that'll look really cute to sort of bring these ruffles into slightly more of a V in the back. But yeah, so I'm going to dig out the buttons first, get the buttonholes on, and then hand sewing. So we're on the home straight now, and yeah, see you soon.
Head cold aside, this was quite a fun pattern to assemble. I felt the frills gave it a Little House on the Prairie meets Edwardian vibe, and would absolutely convert the bodice into a sort of Edwardian and Mary Poppins-ish type shirt. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. After all the buttonholes were done, it was then time to get onto the hand sewing, namely that collar on the inside. This is quite minimal for hand sewing this project, which is always nice. I did pull out a petticoat to fluff out that skirt, and I think it's turned out perfectly. But where's the horror, I hear you ask? Well, onto the mask.
So the last step for this one is going to be the doll mask. And this is hideous. To put it delicately, it's a bit racist. So we're going to take off this horrible hair, fix the skin colour up, do more of a blush, make it look more like the sort of porcelain dolls that were haunting around earlier, and yeah, just make it a bit more, or a bit less offensive, I should say. So we still want it to look like horror and grim, so I want to make it more look like that crack's bleeding, but yeah, there's a lot that needs to get done to fix this thing. So let's start taking the hair off, and then I'm going to give it a coat of just a sort of primer to make the paint stick to it.
I was having to think about why dolls are so inherently creepy, and I do think it has to be more than just the fact that I am from that generation where we absolutely watched movies that were completely inappropriate. Looking at you, Poltergeist, when I was only 8 or 9 years old, and thanking you for my phobia of both clowns and dolls. Now, dolls have always kind of been seen as creepy, and I do think the Victorian style porcelain doll is probably the creepiest for me. They have these delicate little faces with these glass eyes, these dead, staring eyes that feel like they're watching you. And historically, they were made in an era obsessed with death and mourning. I mean, just look into mourning dolls if you don't want to sleep for the rest of the week. That aside, pop culture has a lot to explain for. Centuries of ghost stories, movies, and folklore have absolutely conditioned us to associate dolls with possession, curses, and spirits. And once something gets a reputation like that, even an ordinary doll can feel sinister. And now that we have the mask done, let's have a look at how sinister our doll can be. Enjoy your playtime, my ghoulish friends. Until next time.